The guests have arrived. The guests have arrived. Kindly settle down. Abhijit sir, if there is no place, the students can be sent back.
Good morning, one and all. Good morning to all the dignitaries on the dais. Law is one of the great healing professions. While medicine heals the body and the clergy heals the soul, the law heals societal rifts, says Stephen Kiva. B.M.S. College of Law, in association with Rotary Club Bengaluru, welcomes you all to UTKARSH 2023. Namaste everyone, this is Purti Murlidhar, a student from first semester LLB. Now, I would like to call upon Miss Priyanka of first BA LLB for an invocation song.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Maitrim bhajata akhila hrijitrim. Maitrim bhajata akhila hrijitrim. Maitrim bhajata akhila hrijitrim. Atmavadeva Paranapi Pashyata. Atmavadeva Paranapi Pashyata. Yuddham Tyajata Spardham Tyajata. Yuddham Tyajata Spardham Tyajata. Tyajata Parishvakramam Kramam. Tyajata Parishvakramam Kramam. Maitrim bhajata akhila hrijitrim. Maitrim bhajata akhila hrijitrim. जननी पृथिवी कामदुघास्ते. जननी पृथिवी कामदुघास्ते. जनको देवः सकलदयालुः. जनको देवः सकलदयालुः. दाम्यता दत्ता दयध्वं जनानां श्रेयो भूयात् सकलजनानां श्रेयो भूयात् सकलजनानां श्रेयो भूयात् सकलजनानां श्रेयो भूयात् सकलजनानां
A big thank you, Priyanka, for invoking the blessings of the Almighty with your soulful rendition. Shubham karoti kalyanam, arogyam dhana sampadaha, shatru buddhi vinashaya, deepa jyotir namostute. I salute the Supreme, who is the light in the lamp that brings auspiciousness, prosperity, good health, abundance of wealth, and destruction of intellect's enemy. May I request all the dignitaries to kindly join us in lighting the lamp. I request all the audience to kindly raise. Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya. Where there is light, darkness. Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya. Where there is light, darkness cannot be. Where knowledge has come, ignorance must quit. May I now request our Honorable Principal, Dr. Anita F.N. D'Souza, to welcome the gathering. Over to you, ma'am.
Good morning. Distinguished guests, faculty, staff, dear students and participants. I am honored to welcome you all to the first ever UTKARSH Law Fest organized by B.M.S. College of Law in collaboration with Rotary Club and B.M.S. Hospital Trust. I would like to start by paying my humble tributes to our legendary founders, Shri B.M. Srinivasaya and Shri B.S. Narayan, whose vision and hard work laid the foundation for the establishment of B.M.S. College of Law. I am humbled and honored to extend a special welcome to the chief guest of today's event, Honorable Justice Krishna Bhatt, former Judge, High Court of Karnataka, and the guest of honor, Shri Lomesh Kiran Nidumuri, partner Cyril Amarchand Mangaldas, for gracing the occasion. I would like to extend my warm greetings to our donor trustee and chairperson, Dr. Ragini Narayan, for her invaluable support and guidance in making this event a reality. Her dedication and commitment towards the betterment of legal education has been the driving force behind the success of this Law Fest. Along with her, our trustees, Dr. Dayanand Pai and Sri Ravi Venkatesam, are unable to attend this program. Nevertheless, they have conveyed their best wishes and blessings to all of us. I would like to acknowledge the presence of our chairman, Sri Aviram Sharma, who has been a constant source of inspiration and support for the college. His leadership and guidance have been instrumental in the growth and development of B.M.S. College of Law. I extend a warm welcome to Sri Gautam Kalatur, Chairman, B.M.S. Hospital, for being instrumental in facilitating this event, along with Sri Badri Vishal, Advocate, Srinivas and Badri Associates. I thank them for their invaluable support, both intellectually and financially, in making this event a reality. Thank you so much, sir. Warm welcome to the office bearers of B.M.S. Educational Trust, Wing Commander R.A. Raghavan, Director Administration, Sri Sanjeeva, Senior Manager Finance, Sri Khalil, Director Projects. Warm welcome to Sri Rudragowda, Sri Gopinath and Sri Naman Venkadri, the faculty coordinators of this particular event. A big round of applause to all of them. Warm welcome to Dr. Sujata, Vice Principal, Dr. Veerbhadraya, Dr. Nalini, Dr. Satish, Dr. Shweta. Congratulations to Shweta on the award of PhD in Law. Congratulations, Shweta. Directors, my esteemed colleagues, admin staff, student coordinators and volunteers. I extend a warm welcome to all the participants from various law schools. This event is a great opportunity for all of us to come together and showcase our legal acumen in the 4 exciting events: mediation, celebrity advocacy, law quiz and judgment writing. It is our belief that such simulations and competitions will not only be an engaging experience but also a learning from law in books to law in action. I wish all the participants a great competition and hope that this event will be a memorable and enriching experience for all of us. Thank you. Good day.
Thank you for welcoming the gathering, ma'am. I heartily welcome you to this auspicious occasion as well. It's indeed a privilege to have with us Justice P. Krishna Bhatt sir, former Judge, High Court of Karnataka, with us today. I would now like to call upon Vagvi Ejurvedi of first semester LLB to introduce our esteemed chief guest to all of us. Over to Vagvi.
Powerful people make places powerful. Today, it is my honor and great privilege to present before you all Justice P. Krishna Bhatt, who was born on 8th August 1960 in Vittal Padnur village of Bandwal Taluk, Dakshina Kannada district, in an agrarian family. After finishing his primary education in the village and high school education in Vittal, he studied PUC in Sri Bhuvanendra College at Karkala. He did his BSc from St. Aloysius College, Mangalore. He did his law course from the law school, Banaras Hindu University, Varanasi. He initially joined the bar at district courts in Bangalore, and in July 1989, he commenced his practice at the High Court of Karnataka, Bangalore. In 1998, he was directly recruited as a district and sessions judge, and he served the capacity of principal district and sessions judge at Bidar, Tumkur, Raichur, Belgaum, and Bangalore rural districts. He took oath as additional judge of Karnataka High Court on May 21, 2020, and was made a permanent judge on September 25, 2021. He was also the Registrar General of High Court of Karnataka and Director of Karnataka Judicial Academy, Bangalore. He retired as Judge of High Court of Karnataka on 7th August 2022. Welcome.
Thank you, Vagni. May I now request our Chief Guest, Justice P. Krishna Bhatt, sir, to kindly address the gathering. Over to you, sir.
Thank you for the kind invitation. Distinguished guests on the stage, distinguished members of the teaching faculty, enthusiastic students, ladies and gentlemen. A great tone was set for the moment by the invocation. In fact, let me tell you the story behind that invocation. Say, it was composed by the senior Swamiji of Kanchi Kamakoti Matham, Chandrasekharendra Bharati, who lived 100 years. That was composed and given over to M.S. Subbalakshmi to be sung at the United Nations in the opening ceremony of one of its greatest conventions. You know, today and tomorrow, you are going to have 4 different kinds of subjects. One of them is mediation. Maitrim Bhajata. You know, see, the invocation was Maitrim Bhajata. Adore and encourage Maitri. Maitri, you know, is friendship. Friendship requires a lot of sacrifice, give and take, and arriving at the best solution which is in the interest of all sides. Avoid disputes. Maitrim Bhajata, adore and encourage Maitri. Spardham Thyajata. You know why you are before courts? Why you are going to be trained as lawyers to help the parties who are in court? It is each party will be having interest. Interest is, interest develops because we are humans and we are capable of thinking. There are not much dispute among the lesser evolved beings like animals. Once their needs of hunger is satisfied, there is no more competition among them. No ego-driven kind of conflicts arise. Spardham Thyajata, because this conflict of interest is something unique among the humans. We need a platform, we need a media, we need a medium, perhaps multiple media, in order to resolve those disputes so that common, some kind of satisfactory order resides in the society. These kinds of resolution dispute methods were not there in the ancient times because the organized society was not there. The more we move towards organized society, and more there is interaction, what we call as the social intercourse and business intercourse started among societies and nations. We needed very defined methods of solution, defined methods of dispute resolution mechanisms. Therefore, today and in the course of tomorrow, you are going to have 4 kinds of programs. One is about mediation. Mediation is heralded as a win-win kind of solution. Now, even mediation, it has no longer remained in the traditional way in which it was always there among us, in Indians. If you read Mahabharata, if you read Ramayana, you have always found one of the earliest methods they used to have resort to before going to war to settle the issue, that is the most violent way of settling the issue, was going for mediation. You have heard about Angada Sandhana, and the best of them was Sri Krishna himself. He went seeking a resolution. Now you will find, while you embark upon this exercise of mediation, certain amount of rigidity among the parties. They refuse to change their position to arrive at which is required for arriving at a settlement. Duryodhana did the same thing. Realizing the compelling need for mediation and resolve the dispute, because Pandavas could see if it is taken to the ultimate step of war, everybody is going to perish. Everybody is in war. There are no winners. Everybody is a loser. But military generals, General Krishna Rao, I remember reading him many decades ago. He said there is no runner-up in a war. The second best is always beaten black and blue and is destroyed completely. And the current situation prevailing in the world tells us the winner also loses considerably. Look at the Putin and Zelensky kind of dispute that is going on. Of course, many people are behind that. It is depriving us of food, which is extremely essential, oil, black gold, until we find the alternative. So mediation is extremely important. Mediation. I was telling you about Duryodhana and Pandavas, how finally this rigidity led to the ultimate method of resolution of dispute, that was war. Duryodhana adopted, like some of the parties before, you will see soon, when you get into litigation and mediation, you will see the parties adopting this. One of the poets, the great Sanskrit poets, Lakshman Suri, whose son was a great Supreme Court judge, T.L. Venkatramaiah, he wrote his own version of Mahabharata, Lakshman Suri. He was exemplifying the stances some of the parties take through the character of Duryodhana. The solution was, different elders said, settle it, give something. He said, I won't give even that much space, which can place 5 pins on the earth. I won't give. Then he was made to see reason. He said, Bharakrantas Shilastambha Bhajyetapi Naname. He said, when you place too much, because he was being pressurized by elders. Of course, that was not by using force, by giving strong reasons. When he was told, he realized that catastrophe is in store for him, but he said, Bharakranta Shilastambha. A stone pillar, put however much load on that, it will not bend, it may break. It may break. You will find these kinds of people, a lot of wisdom is required, a lot of experience is required to, make this mediation happen. Where do you get this wisdom from? Where do you get this? Classrooms will give you an initiation into this. I remember one of the pillars of this B.M.S. law school, law college is, apart from late Honorable E.S. Venkatramaiah, late Honorable E.S. Venkatramaiah, the former Chief Justice of India, another great pillar and doyen is Honorable Justice M.N. Venkatacharya. He is very fond of telling, and I am only repeating it before you. And before I repeat that, I am reminded of a convocation address by Nani Palkiwala. I saw one of the trees, carrying placard of N.A. Palkiwala. So I was reminded of that. I thought I should tell you this also. There are 2 kinds of fools in this world. 2 kinds of fools. One kind is those who offer advice. The second kind are those who don't accept it. So Palkiwala told the students who were attending convocation at this, if I remember right, it was Bangalore University only. He said, I would like to belong to the first class of fools, first category of fools, with the fond hope that you would not belong to the second category of fools. Now what was this? Bharakranta Shilastamba, Bhajye Tapi Naname. Now, how do we acquire this wisdom? The advice given by Honorable M.N. Venkatacharya to the students was, to me also, was, every day read at least 50 pages of any good book you can pick up. One of your professors today showed me the mobile and said, we will show the picture of a book and ask the students to identify. This further fortified me in when I was entering, I saw Palkiwala's. I thought I should tell this because merely looking and identifying is not enough. The advice of M.N. Venkatacharya, Honorable M.N. Venkatacharya, very elder doyen in the field, that you read, wisdom is gained not by. This is what Francis Bacon also said. Read his essays. Lawyers are going to be counsel. They are going to be counsel, not some small, like a cobbler or the Walter Scott's. Learning the law. Please read one of the chapters where you will find this. What a lawyer should be, not a mere mason and, he should be a well-rounded person. Whether you are going to be a mediator or a litigating counsel or going to sit in the boardroom today, that is also possible. Whether you are going to be a content creator, wisdom is required. Wisdom is not mere learning and information. I remember Justice B.P. Sinha in one of the judgments which is reported, you can go through that, Amal Kumar Roy, a judicial officer he was. So he said, I find that there is more learning in the petitioner because he argued the case himself. The Chief Justice made this remark, there is more learning in this petitioner than wisdom. It is only a person, a lawyer who is wise, who is well-rounded, he can only be a successful mediator, successful litigating counsel, boardroom advisor, corporate lawyer, or a content creator, name whatever you will. This is required. And that is what Palkiwala also said. It may be a little audacious on my part or any one of their part to give you advice, but it would be foolish and it would be very dear for you to overlook these kinds of advices. So, ladies and gentlemen, start the habit, inculcate the habit of reading, not going to Google. Google is filled up. That is garbage in. Don't accept those kinds of things. Read authoritative and well-written, respectable books, titles. That will only make you very competent. Mediation is one of the finest things, as M.S. Subbalakshmi so competently, rendered it before the United Nations. So one of my requests is start inculcating the habit of reading good books without any limitation. Start at least reading 50 pages of any book of your choice. And celebrity advocacy. I was not able to actually decipher what it meant till I was told it was about students trying to put across successful arguments to win bail in their favor. Bail is essentially about liberty. Liberty cannot be licentious. There is a lot of difference. People think I have only, the moment people go on talking about constitution and saying right to life, liberty and all that, it is a controlled thing. You are living among 140 crores in this country, and in the entire world, maybe about 8 billion people. So you can't have all the liberty for yourself. It has to be a regulated one. Now, bail law is all about granting liberty, simultaneously emphasizing on some regulation, some orderly behavior. So how do you balance individual's interest with the countervailing interest of the society? So this balance has to be finely tipped. Unless you understand that, you will not be able to successfully persuade a court, no matter how many impressive jargonized expressions you are going to use. And since it was about celebrity advocacy, think of some successful lawyers. It is ultimately, arguing before a court, whether it is for bail or for injunction or for that matter, any relief, patent or copyright or whatever. It is all about communication, persuasion. Persuasion is through. Suasio is sweetness. Sweetness, the information, the law should be covered with some sweetness. Now, this sweetness is increasingly missing inside the courtroom. People are forgetting. That's why I am trying to remind this. Not that you don't know, only as a gentle reminder. Benjamin Franklin wrote a small autobiography which I would request you to read. He says, if you start telling people, nobody will listen. Tell them that they knew it and momentarily they had forgotten, and you are just gently reminding. That applies to all, more particularly to the lawyers. I find, and many of the judges and many of the authors among the great lawyers and judges, and when I told you earlier that you should read books, I would implore you to go through the autobiographies of great lawyers, great judges, not only of Indian origin, across the board, from outside our jurisdictions also. There are great people. For example, if I have to name some American lawmen, Oliver Wendell Holmes, Cardozo, Felix Frankfurter, and recently thereafter Posner, many such eminent people. From England, there are any number of them, great people, great judges, great lawyers. Unless you read their books, their biographies and autobiographies, you can't be successful communicators, purveyors of ideas, great ideas. It's marketing, you see, to put it very crudely. Here, unless there is some appeal in what you are putting across to the judge, who finally has that, it is his role to finally give the order. Unless you are able to market, that's to put it crudely, you are not actually marketing it, yours is a noble calling. You must carry some kind of appeal, some kind of conviction in the ideas that you are putting across to the judge. So how you do that? You must follow, not ape, you must follow. You see, there is this distinction. You can't be somebody like Krishna here, but people try while arguing, borrowing his heavily jargonized expressions. It is impossible. Krishna here is Krishna here. So you must be original. You may carry some ideas which he has given you through his judgments or his any number of lectures. He has written more than 100 books. But be your own person. Be your own person. Try to carry appeal and conviction in what you are telling the judge. That requires humility also along with firmness. So, and then the quiz. Quiz is a fantastic idea for law students, supposing, on the feet thinking, this capability is required. Quick thinking. That ability can be honed, sharpened only by this kind of, exercises, quiz and mathematical solution. Now perhaps NEP is, thinking about this. We have always been, in our education policy was, for a long time, it has remained, very unimaginative. If somebody is choosing arts, what is known as arts, it is only sociology, political science or economics. No maths. Brain becomes active, sharp by doing, that's why you see in newspapers you get sudokus and all kinds of things. Or what is that, all those words joining and what is that, crossword. Perhaps because of our lopsided policy of education, more people are getting into Alzheimer's and what is the other thing? Parkinson. Because you don't know, you jog, do lot of things. Even today I walked 7 kilometers in the morning. Plus something, madam took us through the campus. But no exercise to the brain, Unless that is required for the syllabus, you do that. That's why wise people said, read something new. Challenge yourself. Spardham Tyajata means don't compete with others. Compete with yourself so that tomorrow you become a better version of yourself. Today you are 1.0, tomorrow 2.0. Before you come out of the portals of this great law school, you should be maybe 1000.0. People aim at only 3.0 now. You must be 1000.0. That can be done by your constantly challenging yourself. Take that, challenge. Spardham Tyajata. Don't compete with others. So the quiz is extremely important. In fact, if you aspire for a career in the judiciary, this is how it is. Now, since the last 10, 12 years, I was registrar. For the first time, it was initiated when I was registrar. I had a lot of sittings with this CET people. These multiple choice questions. Ultimately, it is a kind of quiz, you see. Quickly you have to answer. So that's how, among the thousands of aspirants, we shortlist. Quick thinking. It is not for getting into any position. To position yourself in the current competitive mindset. It prepares you for that. Judgment writing. Griffith, I think not Griffith. I forget the book he wrote about, maybe I remember that, one of the finest books. Griffith wrote The Politics of the Judiciary. It is about judges. Two books he wrote among others. One is about advocates and another about judges. British author. So he said one of the things we all want to avoid is to judge. There was a famous joke about P.V. Narasimha Rao. Who is P.V. Narasimha Rao, by the way? The best hotelier in Bangalore? Huh?
Prime Minister.
Of which country?
India.
India? Was he? When? Because this is another thing. People, who is Hrithik Roshan and Ritu Berry or,
1991 to 1996.
this everybody knows. But if who is the current Prime Minister, people start blinking, our youngsters. They are famished for real, this is one of the saddening things. For everything, go to Google, bus. No newspaper reading, nothing. P.V. Narasimha Rao, as you rightly said, fortunately, it was my good fortune. I never expected that. In many gatherings, people start blinking the moment we mention P.V. Narasimha Rao or Manmohan Singh. He was also blinking. So, P.V. Narasimha Rao, he was one of the astutest prime ministers we ever had. A brilliant man, extremely well read, and he could speak in at least a dozen languages. A diplomat from Pakistan was completely flummoxed when he found P.V. Narasimha Rao talking to him in chaste Urdu, and that man was found severely wanting. That's he was so well read. He could have been easily a professor in Yale University or any of the Ivy League universities. Such a brilliant man he was. Now, what was the problem? Why do I take his name now about judgment? Morning he would start reading one of the 12 newspapers. That was his standard habit. That's why he was so well informed. So his cook would pop in and ask, "Sir, what should I prepare for breakfast?" The man would bury himself inside the newspaper. The cook will go away without getting an answer. And after 15 minutes, 7:15, because Prime Minister will have a meeting at 8:30, so breakfast should be given so that he can prepare. So 7:15 again, the moment he gets the inkling that cook is breathing behind his neck, so he would again bury himself. The cook would go away. 7:30 he would decide, now yes, I have to. So he would ask, "Sir, what will you have for breakfast?" The man wouldn't answer. He would go back. 7:45 he would again resurface. Fail to get an answer. Then he will go and prepare some idli or masala dosa. Man will eat silently. So he had this remarkable ability. Not taking a decision is a decision in itself. So this great author said, one of the things people loathe to do is to judge, to make decisions. Now judgment writing, you imagine how difficult it would be. It is against our grains to decide. We will normally like to dither, avoid any decision making responsibility. Look at, imagine your parents. You were small kids, little kids. You and your brother had some quarrels. Mostly I am seeing girls, so I said you and your brother. So some quarrel, some petty this thing. Who should have what and all that and all that. So then you go to the father. Brother is snatching this kind of thing and all that and all that. He would say, go to the mother. Okay? Avoiding making decisions. So it is extremely difficult. So, and giving a decision in the dispute, fine, no, you go away, or half an hour you play with that and half an hour the next child will play. That doesn't require any reasoning. Now, judgment writing involves not only that final sentence of your decision, But the process of ratiocination, this is a very difficult expression which was in existence in jurisprudence all along, but imposed on us by Justice Krishna. Till he said that no other judge had ever dared to mention ratiocination, all kinds of difficult words. That is, to put it in simple reasoning. We are rational people, but known to behave irrationally. That which subserves our individual interests. Therefore, to hold the balance, and in order for us to hold the balance, what steps through which the conclusion has to be reached, that balance is even. This is very difficult unless this discipline is brought inside each one of our cerebrum. This discipline, it requires what is known as a philosopher's rigor of thought. Philosopher's rigor of thought. So this, ladies and gentlemen, I would request you to develop this. This has to be a conscious exercise. Conscious exercise. Like you solve Sudoku, like when you play the chess, you already envisage what the other side will be doing, that is contra-arguments, weighing both sides, and reaching the final destination. This is a very fascinating exercise, but not necessarily capable of being achieved by all of us unless this rigor of thought, rigor of thinking process is consciously developed. It requires again a lot of reading, a lot of understanding. And one thing before I end, I must tell you, for becoming successful in all these endeavors and beyond that, we all of us require focus. Not getting distracted till the goal is achieved, and for you and I, each one of the cases we are dealing is an independent goal in itself. So we never reach the final goal. So our focus has to be so much extra harder. So much extra harder. I can tell you one thing which has always appealed ever since that it occurred in 1999, if I remember the year right. The Cricket World Cup was going on. Cricket World Cup. You know, that's a summit competition. Only best get to play there. Best get to play there. So the focus I am talking about, all of them were having a tremendous amount of focus. Otherwise, they would not have been there at that level of the theatre of that game. So the most fancy teams were South Africa and Australia. Each had greatest cricketers ever to have walked on the cricketing pitch. Unfortunately, it so happened they were clashing in the semi-final itself. It was virtually the final. One of them, whoever won the semi-final, would have been bound to lift the cup. So Steve Waugh, one of the finest again, very focused man. He was batting. He was the captain of the team. South Africa, all the 11 players were all attention. Just for one mistake from his side, it has to be 24 hours attention, or all that span of playing. So bowler bowled the ball, and if I remember, it was Lance Klusner, one of the finest close-in fielders, who was. You can check that. My memory may not be right, because now cricket is not my. Anyway, I happen to remember it is not my main line of work. Okay, he was the closing fielder. Steve Waugh had a momentary lapse of focus. He committed small mistake, gave the toughest of the catches, but it was not too tough for the closing fielder who was there, Lance Klusner. He was such an amazing kind of fielder. He also unfortunately had a briefest fleeting moment of lapse of focus. He dropped the catch. I told you one of them was whoever won the semi-final match was bound to win the World Cup. It happened so later. It transferred so later. So this was he was the hardest batsman to get out. So you know what Steve was there? Mate, you have not dropped the catch. You heard me saying he dropped the catch, Lance Klusner. But Steve was saying you have not dropped the catch. He didn't stop it there. He said, you have dropped the World Cup. Now I am not going to get out. You have dropped the World Cup. Please, ladies and young ladies and gentlemen, don't drop the World Cup. Thank you very much.
Yes, it's a promise, sir. We will not drop the World Cup. Thank you so much for those words of wisdom and experience, sir. It was indeed a privilege listening to you. May I now call upon Vagmi Ejurvedi of first semester LLB to introduce our guest of honor, Shri Lomesh Kiran Nidumuri, to all of us. Over to Vagmi.
Imagine a world with a system only created to hear and prove disagreements and a scope only for blaming on each other. It would be such a chaotic mess. It could lead to hatred and anger and even war. Many a times, all we need is to sit and put forth the misunderstandings and settle the best for all the parties involved. Likewise, arbitration has emerged as a way to preserve the relationships between two companies and resolve a dispute amicably. Mr. Lomesh Kiran Nidumuri, partner and head disputes, South India, for Cyril Amarchand Mangaldas, has been advising clients in all types of civil and business commercial disputes, cross-border disputes, domestic and international arbitrations. In many disputes, he acts as a lead counsel conducting trial and arguments before courts and arbitral tribunals. Over the years, he has acted for clients in a variety of matters relating to shareholder disputes, technology and cryptocurrency-related disputes, white-collar crimes, projects and construction, reconstructing and corporate insolvency, intellectual property rights, to trademarks, copyright, domain name disputes, and trade secret disputes, employment matters, tenders, and action against governmental bodies. He is a member of the Singapore International Arbitration Center, Reserve Panel of Arbitrators, and Panel Arbitrator at the Bangalore Institute of Mediation and Arbitration Center. He represented a leading international financial institution in arbitration proceedings initiated against the promoters of a company before a sole arbitrator, a retired Supreme Court judge at Bangalore. The arbitrator awarded damages of approximately $100 million, making each of the promoters jointly and severally liable. He represented a leading Fortune 500 IT services company in arbitration proceeding initiated against a leading telecom company in India before a 3-panel arbitral tribunal comprising of retired Supreme Court judges at New Delhi. Presently representing a leading cryptocurrency company in criminal proceedings initiated by the Enforcement Directorate for money laundering before the authorities and the courts. Representing a leading technology company in arbitration proceedings against the erstwhile shareholders of a company it acquired for damages on account of fraud and misrepresentation in accounts at the time of acquisition. He has been recognized and awarded as Band 1 Lawyer for Chambers and Partners 2023, Top 15 Disputes Lawyers in Asia, Asian Legal Business 2022, Up and Coming Lawyer for Litigation and Arbitration Disputes, Chambers and Partners Asia Pacific 2021, awarded Dispute Star in the categories of International Arbitration and Commercial Transactions respectively, Benchmark Litigation 2020, 21 and 22. Awarded Recommended Lawyer for Dispute Resolution, Litigation and Intellectual Property Disputes, Legal 500 Asia Pacific 2021. Awarded Notable Practitioner for Dispute Resolution, Asia Law Profiles 2017, 2019, 2020 and 21. Apart from this, Mr. Lomesh is keen sports enthusiast. He is the co-owner of the KJF Worlds team in Grand Prix Badminton League. His team won the inaugural edition of the GPBL in August 2022. In his spare time, he likes to play badminton and squash, cycle over the weekends, read biographies, and books relating to law, history, espionage, and listening to psychedelic rock and electric blues. I invoke deep pleasure in presenting your profiles.
Thank you, Vagvi. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. It's quite embarrassing listening about my own introduction, but unfortunately those are the perils of having to put a profile on your website, but thank you very much for that. Justice Krishna Bhatt, what a wonderful speech. I've always been a big fan of you. And it's really a pleasure to be seated next to you as opposed to being on the other side and trying to plead my petition before you. So this is a lot easier, I think. So I've been given about 10 minutes to speak to all of you, and as I was driving to this place, I was thinking, what should I talk to all of you? I realized that I should speak a language that perhaps most of you would be passionate about. One is, of course, law. The other one is sports. Sports is something that Justice Krishna Bhatt also narrated a lot of examples. And whatever I'm going to tell you today is illustrations from sports and what I have seen in the sports field, both as owning a team myself, but also in terms of being a sports enthusiast for several decades now. One of the key things that all of you should realize is that the world is quickly changing. You cannot be what you were earlier. How many of you remember Kodak? You remember Kodak? Okay, you remember. How many of you have actually taken a photograph with the Kodak? Not bad. I would assume that the percentage would be a lot lesser. When Kodak was in the market, it had more than 50% market share. Nobody imagined that Kodak would be out of business in a matter of 1 or 2 years. The only reason Kodak went out of business is because they failed to innovate. The first thing I would like to tell you, my friends, is that innovation is the key today. Nobody imagined that all of us would take our mobile phone and take photographs. Nobody even fathomed that a camera could be fixed on a mobile phone and photographs could be taken. Today, how many of us actually have cameras? I have one camera which is just lying in the cupboard. My son just plays with it just to experiment some things, but that's about it. Nobody does, because your mobile phone has everything that you need. Innovation is the key. I'll give you an illustration from sports. Many years ago in high jump, the way you did a high jump was a scissor kick. You take both your legs and try to jump across that pole. So there was only that much that you could jump over the pole. So there was this gentleman called Dick Fosbury. What he did in the US was, he came up with a very innovative way of jumping over the bar. The way to jump over the bar was not the traditional kick over, but he would take the entire backwards jump, flip over. When people saw him try that, they thought he was crazy. They said, how can a human body possibly jump that high in that kind of, the human body is not capable of doing that. Today, my friends, everybody does the same jump. Nobody does the scissor kick. Except possibly, some of the areas where the sport is not really that developed, people may still try to do that. That is what Dick Fosbury brought to the sport, and people thought he was crazy. Today, the same example, let's take it in so far as law is concerned. The way law itself is looked at has changed over the years. Just last week, I saw a WhatsApp forward. This technology, you have this, a lot of people have PhDs in WhatsApp, right? So it's called the University of WhatsApp. So when I got that forward, I was obviously skeptical. I thought, no, it can't be, just another forward has come. But I actually Google searched it and I realized there are actually companies in the US which are making do with the lawyers. They say, we don't need lawyers. We will have a robot appear before the United States Supreme Court. How many of you have read that? You've read that, exactly. Now it seems absolutely bizarre that a robot could replace a human arguing matters in court. But let me tell you, my friends, that could be a reality. Just like people thought it was crazy for Dick Fosbury to jump in that particular way, or for Kodak to run out of business completely, this could be the reality for the future. Now, what is it that you need to do? You need to keep up with the times. The traditional way is long gone. There are certain traditional things in the profession which will always remain. Just as Krishna Bhatt spoke about the importance of reading, that fundamentals will never change, whether there's a robot or whether there's no robot. But a lot of other things will change. During my time, when I was a youngster, everyone told me, all you need, if you want to start your own independent practice, you need your own library. First thing was a library. A library would be given as a gift from one generation to the other. Today, do you need such a big library? Law firms, we don't depend on such big libraries. Everything is there online, where you can just check and you can look up. Of course, I'm not trying to suggest that you totally replace books. Books are important, digests are important, you need to look at it. But a lot of other unwanted things, for instance, you don't need AR from 1950 till 2023. Why do you need printouts of all that? It takes so much of space. It can be replaced with just the use of technology. Technology can be used in the way in which you analyze how to argue before a particular judge. There could be an artificial intelligence where the technology, all the data of how this particular judge has treated this particular issue, whether an interim order has been granted or not, that is something that artificial intelligence can tell you. And you can use that to see whether what will appeal before this particular judge. And that is where there is a lot of disruption in the legal market. And what is important, my friends, is that all of you are alive to these changes. The problem, what happens with a lot of people is that they somehow become immune to the change that's happening around. Your life is not only the classroom. While classroom will teach you the fundamentals, you need to think beyond. You need to see what is happening in the industry. You need to pace yourself with the trends in the market. I think that's the number one thing. The second thing which I would like to tell you, again, let me caveat this by saying, again, what Justice Krishna Bhatt said about the two kinds of fools. I don't want to be the first kind of fool. And my objective is really not to give sermons here or give advice, because I may be least qualified insofar as that is concerned. But whatever I'm telling you is all based on my experiences as well. And perhaps in my life, I have failed more than I have succeeded. And I'm very proud of that. Because every time I've failed, I've learned some important lessons and have come up in life. First generation lawyer, absolutely nobody, no godfather to look up to. I know things are very difficult. It's not an easy place out there. But if you learn how to deal with failure, that is the most important test. I think everyone teaches you to be a winner, but nobody teaches you how to lose. And that is something that you learn from sports as well. Now again, coming back to a sports example, there was this famous French golfer. I'm not a big Netflix fan. I don't watch too much of Netflix other than the boring documentaries and this one particular episode. How many of you watch Netflix? Don't worry, we won't remember. In case it's a taboo. Okay, great. So a lot of you. How many of you have seen this episode called Losers? Okay. I urge you to see Losers. There is this one particular episode. It's basically about sports people who have failed, not succeeded, who have failed, and what are the lessons that they have drawn from the failure. One of the great guys was this French golfer. Now, France had not won a championship in decades. Now, this one person, ranked 152nd in the world, goes to the 1999 British Open, and he uses a different stick, and it's like wind is blowing, it's gushy, there's water everywhere. It's a really hard place to golf. It finally came to a spot of just 3 people were left. And he hits the most atrocious shot of his life, and the ball lands in the mud. 5-6 shots, and he's not able to get the golf ball out. His name is Jean Van Del Verde. Forgive my French. It's a lot more exotic than what I've just said. But he tried 3 or 4 times, but he failed. And for the next 10 years, the press roasted him about how he would have been the first Frenchman since 1919 or so to have won French Open, to have won any international sporting event insofar as golf is concerned, but he lost. But then the documentary beautifully talks about how that failure actually inspired him to come up with the next generation of French golfers. It's a loss that taught him a lot of things in life. Not everybody needs to succeed, not everyone needs to become a rock star. But the point really is that you put your processes in place right. MS Dhoni, again, a sports example. Throughout, after the World Cup, after the 2011 World Cup, India kept losing everywhere. I remember they went to England soon after they won the World Cup in 2011. MS Dhoni took the ball and he was bowling because all our bowlers were injured. Almost everybody were injured. And I think they got RP Singh, who bowled in 2007 World Cup. And I think he was bowling at express pace of 105 kilometers per hour for a pace bowler. That was it. Dhoni was the one who was bowling. But then after every loss, Dhoni kept saying only one thing to the press. He said, yes, it's a bad loss, yes, but I believe in the process. I believe in the process. And he said that for 2 years, so much so that even I used to get irritated listening to Dhoni. He's going to say now they've lost. Now he's going to say process. What is this process? It's not even leading to result. But then I think today, when I lead my team, and when I lead my team across South, and when I see my partners reporting to me, I realize that there's a lot of truth in what Dhoni said. All of you are fixated on the result. You will see Harish Salve going in a Mercedes S-Class, or somebody else going in a particular car. That is the result. Do not focus on what the results are. Focus on the process. One step at a time, every day, take it one day at a time and go forward. As Justice Krishna Bhatt said, you need to read. Every day when you invest yourself in reading, you are building yourself to that. It doesn't come overnight. It doesn't come easy. Because I notice that the younger generation is very restless, and it's a good thing. Being restless is a good thing because you want to achieve a lot. But at the same time, you should realize that there are certain traditional values that this profession attaches. It takes time. Diamond does not cut overnight. It takes a lot of pressure that the stone has to go through for the stone to become a diamond. And that's what all of you are. You're capable of being excellent diamonds for the future, provided you put your processes in place every single day. The other example I want to give you is of Ben Stokes. I don't know how many of you watched, I think was it the 2017 World Cup when... Yes, that's right, 2020 World Cup. 2020 World Cup. Yes, that's correct. So in the World Cup, in the T20 World Cup, Carlos Brathwaite was batting of West Indies and Ben Stokes was bowling. I think it was 18 or 19. 19 of 6. Yes, excellent. Good. I have my sports fan right here. A good friend. We should meet after this. Carlos Brathwaite hit him for 3 consecutive sixes in Kolkata. And that was heartbreaking for Ben Stokes. And I still remember the visuals of Ben Stokes just covering himself in shame and just sitting down in tears. Most people would have written off Ben Stokes. But what happens? As my friend rightly said here, in the 50 overs World Cup that happened recently, Ben Stokes was a star. Not just with the bat, but also with the ball. He redeems himself. Only because of his consistent things. Forget about what he does outside of the cricket field, those controversies I'm not going to get into. But at least what he did on the field was fantastic. Remember one thing, friends. It's not just hard work that matters. It's perseverance. And studies from Harvard also would show that people who have persevered for a longer period of time have succeeded, not just hard work. Because a lot of people do hard work and then they say, I'm sure Justice Krishna Bhatt also will agree with me. In June, between June to August of every year, I see young faces in the Karnataka High Court walking up and down. The same faces disappear in a year or two. Why is that? It's because somewhere the battle is lost. Of course, there could be instances where the candidate may generally not be interested in litigation. I'm not talking about those cases, but these are cases where the person is actually interested in litigation, but that will to fight, that perseverance is lost. Please remember this, that you'll always get opportunities and you need to persevere. Marwan Athapattu, again, the famous Sri Lankan batter, again from the University of WhatsApp, I can tell you the illustration of how He scored tons of runs in the domestic circuit. He got picked for the international team. In the first 2 test matches, 0-1, 0-0-0 something. For 3 test matches actually, he scored only 0 and 1. Then they dropped him. He came back to the test match after 6 years. And even then, the first 2 test matches, it was 0-1, 0-1. So the first run that he scored in the first or the second test after 6 years was perhaps the first run that he scored in the 6 years of international cricket. But then to his good luck, somebody got injured. One of the Sri Lankan players got injured. And then he got a chance to go back into the team. And what happened to Marwan Atapattu after that? He became the captain and he scored tons and tons of centuries. Today he is considered to be one of the greatest Sri Lankan batsmen. And how long did he have to wait? He had to wait for that 6 years. Just imagine your Marwan Atapattu for a moment. You scored tons of runs in the domestic scene. You go to the international cricket tournament and then you flop. And then you go back to the domestic scene and then every single match that he would have played, every single ball that he would have faced, he would have thought, am I good enough for this? Maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I'm not cut out for this. But what did he do? Perseverance. He persisted and persisted and persisted. And that's how he got the success. So have the stomach for a long fight, my friends. This is not a 100 meters dash. This is a marathon. This is not an Usain Bolt glory. You need to run like how the marathoners run and pace yourself for the long term. A litigator should never speak. So I think litigators will continue to speak. How much time do I have? Maybe a couple of minutes? Okay. The other thing that I'd like all of you to do, friends, is that when you read the law, think about the law. Be passionate about what the law is. Don't just read the law for what it is. Critically analyze what the law is saying. You don't have to agree with your professor. You don't have to agree with even what I am saying. Have your own critical thinking. Law is a beautiful profession. Again, analogy to sports. It is perhaps one of the only professions where you have an adversary on the other side. You have a case in hand. You are trying to think about it. It's like a game of chess. I make this move. I'll calculate. Okay, he's the other side. He will play this move. What is my move going to be next? You have an adversary you're playing chess against. In addition to all of this, you have your clients to deal with. Clients are not easy. So you need a human element of dealing with the clients. Then you have a judge to deal with. You don't know the mindset of the judge. You should be able to, as Lordship said, persuasion. What is your power of persuasion? How are you going to persuade the judge? In addition to all of this, what I would say is the most important thing is ethics. I think people today are used to seeing people get success instantaneously. You see cryptocurrency. People just invested something, it becomes 1 crore, becomes 100 crores, everything is very fast. This generation is used to things coming very, very fast. But at the same time, what I can tell you, my friends, is that always remember that an ethical route is the route to take. No matter what it takes, even if there are shortcuts to take, there is no question of taking any shortcuts. Always look at what is the most ethical approach. If a client comes to me and client tells me that they want to file a case, by filing a case, I can perhaps make 1 crore from that client. But it would be wrong on my part to say that you file the case only because I want to make that money. I need to tell the client that no, you do not have merits in the case. And that is what ethical advice is. Ethical approach in not just your clients, but also the court, to the judge, to your juniors. Ethical approach is the way. I don't think any other profession demands us of upholding our ethics as much as the legal profession. And that's why I think this profession is beautiful. You can be an instrument of change. I sit in an auto rickshaw. The person sees I'm wearing a coat and a band. He looks at me and says, sir, help ಬೇಕಾಗಿತ್ತು. ಅದು ಮನೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ತೊಂದರೆ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. But something, whatever he'll say, that he's going through either a matrimonial issue or some child issue, something. You have the ability to tell him the answer to the question that he has. How many professions can actually make you feel good about what you do? Your ability to ignite the people's minds, your ability to help somebody in need is something that makes this profession beautiful. And that's where your knowledge can actually be used as an instrument of change in whatever way it is. And that is why I think all of you should look at this not just as a classroom exercise, but look beyond it. Justice Krishna Bhatt has already touched upon my favorite person in the profession who unfortunately I never got a chance to meet, Mr. Nani Palkhiwala. You'll be surprised the number of interns who come to my team and I tell them, have you heard of Mr. Nani Palkhiwala? 95% of them say no. 5% who say they know, they say yes, some Keshananda Bharati case, yes, he was there, something basic structure, that's about it. I urge all of you to read the books written by Mr. Nani Palkhiwala. And the way, with all due respect, our education system also is devised is, it only teaches you what is there in the textbooks. How many of us know the reasons why emergency was imposed by Indira Gandhi? That famous Rajnarayan case, what happened in that? Shanti Bhushan appeared in that. What were the issues with regard to that election petition? These are things that I think all of you should be aware of. Now the beautiful thing about reading autobiographies and biographies, as Justice Krishna Bhatt also said, which is what I love to do, and I continue to do that, is that it gives a lot of constitutional history in context. For instance, if you're looking at Keshananda Bharati, Keshananda Bharati is one of those judgments, everyone says they know basic structure, but let me tell you, most people have not read the judgment fully. It's one of those cases. Keshananda Bharati, yes. But when you read biographies and autobiographies, you'll realize what was it that made Mr. Nani Palkhiwala argue the basic structure principle. It was on a flight that he took from US back to India, where Mr. Soli Sarabji was briefing him, and he sent him to India Law Institute, which is bang opposite the Supreme Court, to research on that proposition, come back, and that is when the whole concept started taking shape. Now, if you read books like this, it will give you a more fun way of understanding our constitutional jurisprudence. You'll realize those little arguments that Mr. Nani Palkhiwala had against the other side through various books. Somebody said something to him, he got irritated, he got up. Justice Shah, you can almost visualize the Keshananda Bharati bench. Justice Shah sitting on one side, he asking questions, the bench was totally against them, etc., etc. I think to have a deeper meaning of a lot of things, I think it's very important that all of you continue to read that. A well-rounded personality is what you should be looking at. I think I should not continue further. If any of you have any doubts, queries, etc., please feel free to reach out to me. I just want to end by just saying this. This profession is vast, this profession is huge, but let me assure you that each one of you can achieve what you have set out to achieve. Look at it from the long term. If I, with my very limited ability, was able to achieve whatever little that I was able to achieve, all of you can achieve 10 times more. And don't get perturbed by the fact that either you don't have a godfather, or there is nobody to bless you in the profession, or you need to have this connection, that connection. No. If you are willing to slog it out, like Marwan Athapattu did, and get to the Sri Lankan cricket team and play, if you have the stomach to fight, you will shine in this profession. And I wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. After listening to sir's speech, I feel like remembering Justice P. Sadashivam, who says, as a rule, an advocate being a member of the legal profession has a social duty to show the people a beacon of light by his conduct and actions rather than being adamant on an unwarranted and uncalled for issue. Change is the only constant, so it's high time that we focus on the journey towards reaching the final destination. Thank you so much for your words, sir. They were igniting. May I now call upon Sri Rajiv Gopinath, sir, to render vote of thanks. Over to you, sir.
I, Professor Rajiv Gopinath, deem it a great pleasure to deliver the vote of thanks to the august gathering here. My vote of thanks would remain unfinished if I don't talk about the opportunities given to us at B.M.S. College of Law by the management. I would like to thank on behalf of the management, staff and students, our chief guest for today's event, Honorable Justice P. Krishna Bhatt, for being here. I request the principal, Dr. Anita D'Souza, to kindly felicitate the judge. I thank Sri Lomesh Kiran Nirumuri sir, the guest of honor for today's event, for delivering such a wonderful address to you. Thank you, sir. I would request Dr. Anita D'Souza and the dignitaries on the dais to kindly extend a symbol of gratitude to Sri Lomesh sir. I thank our chairman, Sri Aviram Sharma, for extending support and supporting us all the way. Thank you, sir. I request the dignitaries on the dais to kindly extend a symbol of appreciation. Thank you, sir. I would like to thank Sri Gautam Kalatur, Chairman, B.M.S. Hospital Trust, for always supporting us. Thank you, sir. I request the dignitaries on the dais to kindly hand over a symbol of appreciation. My thanks to Wing Commander R.A. Raghavan sir, the Director Admin, B.M.S. Educational Trust, for being here. Thank you, sir. I would request the dignitaries to kindly extend the symbol of appreciation. I would like to request Sri Sanjeev sir and Sri Khalil sir to kindly join us on stage. My thanks to Sri Sanjeev sir, Director Finance, B.M.S. Educational Trust, for supporting us. Thank you, sir. My thanks to Sri Khalil sir, Director, B.M.S. Educational Trust. Thank you for your support, sir. My thanks to Dr. Anita F.N. D'Souza, Principal, B.M.S. College of Law, for spearheading this event and supporting us. Thank you, madam. My thanks to Dr. Sujata S., Vice Principal, B.M.S. College of Law, for the support. Thank you, madam. This vote of thanks would be rendered useless if I don't thank my colleagues and my fellow coordinators of the event, Sri Rudhagada and Sri Roman Mankadam, who are instrumental in making this program a success. Thank you, sirs. Companies have partners and sleeping partners, and like that, we have a sleeping coordinator with us. I would like to thank Srimati Ramya K, who is the sleeping coordinator of the event. Thank you, madam. not retrospecting though, yes. And at last, I would like to thank all of my faculty, coordinators, and staff present here today. Thank you for your support. And my dear students, and finally, the participants of this event for turning up here and making this event possible. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thanks to you too for pulling in all the efforts in making this event happen. Quoting the words of Krishna from the Gita, Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. So as lawyers, it's high time and it's our duty to stand for what is right for the dharma. So a big thanks to all of you for turning up and making this inaugural event a grand success. Thanks to one and all. Signing off your MC for the morning, Spurti Muralidhar. Namaste everyone.
ನಾನೇ ಮುಂದೆ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ ಆಫ್ ಮಾಡು